Hi, my name is Peggy Halevi, and I am a great appreciator. I've become a great appreciator through an inspiration, and that inspiration drove me forward. It was and remains a very delightful part of my life. Appreciating is more to me than just a process that I take, although I've learned that in appreciating, there is an art to appreciating. So I was inspired to write a book about it. So I wrote the book, and it's called The Art of Appreciation. And I hope that my listeners will pick it up and read it. It's a great book, and it's a beautiful book, and it contains a great lot of information. And one of the things that I love about it is that it touches people in different ways, because there's different segments to it that really help people draw to their own conclusions how they feel about appreciating and how they can apply the art of appreciating into their own lives. So that brings us to this show. This show is called The Art of Appreciation Show. And currently I'm working with a series. And these are the components of the art of appreciation. And these components were given to me in a voice within me that I receive when I am in a state of appreciation and willing and allowing for that voice to be received. And just like I speak very slowly, I actually think very slowly, and I write very slowly. And I speak very slowly because I like to understand the words that I'm saying. And I like to take responsibility for that. And I know it's rare to hear that on the radio where people talk very quickly. However, I speak slowly. And like I say, I comprehend slowly too. And there again, I comprehend slowly because I love comprehending. I want to really absorb what it is I'm learning. So when I heard a voice inside of me, I asked it if it would slow down a little bit, because it came at me with so much information that I was overwhelmed. Often when I first heard it, I would actually cry in a state of overwhelmment. And I didn't cry because I was sad. I cried because I was in joy, but there were so many feelings mixed and entwined and so many messages given to me all at the same time that I would become just totally overwhelmed by it. So I asked, although I felt all the love and I felt this healing take place and this knowledge come to me in ways that I couldn't even put into words. So I asked my inner being if I could write down what was being said to me in a slower way. Although the messages came to me in like it's multiplexed information. It's like in a capsule of stuff. I would absorb that, and then I would say, because it would enlighten me and make me feel even higher than I already felt having heard a voice. So I was definitely in my vortex, as we know this to be, listening to what my inner being had to say, and I asked it if it would please let me write down what I could, if they could help me condense some of this information into easier things for me to be able to write, so that I could reflect on it later. And I think that's the best way for me, because again, I enjoy taking things very slowly. So if you're looking for a fast radio show, this is on a different channel. Anyway, I'd like to first now list for you the things that I was told were the components of the art of appreciation. Because when I started hearing my voice, I started realizing that I was arriving at that place to hear it as a result of really taking my time and doing appreciations and sharing them. I share them with my husband, Uri, and he writes his appreciations and shares them with me. So it really brings us into this place. It's a very sacred place, either As individuals, we can do this, or together, and we like either way. It's very inspirational to get into this groove of the art of appreciation so that you can open yourself to your inner being. And my inner being gave me a list of components, and they are as follows. Appreciation strengthen. They bring forth. They create goodness. They stretch imagination. They smooth the details. They refine thought direction. They refocus on desires and prioritize original thoughts. They claim victory. They shine a light for others. And they feel like oneness. Today we are doing that last one, that it feels like oneness. And that's the 10th component and the last of our series. And it's been such a delight to talk each on those components and to go through them. I feel like I've learned so much. And yet right from the very beginning, when I very first heard those components and heard that last one, that it feels like oneness, I was excited about it. I was excited about hearing about that because it also provided to me subcomponents. So I knew that they're all very wonderful. And yet I'm just as excited about this one as the very first one and the very first message that I received. So I started to ask myself as I wandered into and through this concept that it feels like oneness, what actually was that? And can oneness even be experienced? And who would experience, and why, and when? So, and what is actually oneness? And I've come to better understand it. And well, I am a very big fan of Abraham's and Jerry and Esther Hicks, and I love the teachings of Abraham that they've provided to us throughout the years. And I've listened up closely. Whenever the word oneness comes into a conversation, I indeed perk up my ears and hear what's being said. And I'll paraphrase what Abraham said about oneness. And oneness is, actually, Abraham said something like this. And, I could be hearing more into it, but it sounded like Abraham said that there is no such thing as oneness, and that we're all such individuals that we should always realize that true oneness is that oneness that you are. So that's what I heard in the messages from Abraham. But I also heard other messages from Abraham that helped me understand this oneness a little bit better, and from other people too. And another question came up to me, and is there oneness to everything that has consciousness? And is all that there is one consciousness? I asked myself things like, does our awareness of oneness come to us in intervals of time? And is oneness nothing more than our individual ability to focus on what we can appreciate as oneness? So whenever I thought about it feels like oneness, I would just develop a whole bunch of questions in my mind as to what oneness even meant. And the more I thought about oneness, the more I started to appreciate what it meant to be separate from oneness, and how everything was always something more to it. I started thinking about sand, and I started thinking about how we call sand, even the word sand, is a collective word, because we know that sand can only have a definition because each little grain comes together. But it's not sand. When you take one piece of sand out of the sand, it's really not sand any longer. It's a grain, and it's just a grain of sand. So I started thinking about that, and how indeed there was a separateness in that grain, and yet there was a collectiveness in that sand. And I feel the same way with other things like the stars in the sky and the vastness of the universe, and it being the point of view at which we see a star more than what might indeed be and what seems to be true in the universe. Stars are a collection, just like sand is a collection. And just like water and the ocean seems like a vastness of substance that is one, but it's actually just one drop of water after the other all put together. And so this oneness became more to me as a look and see of the duality of separateness from oneness. And I started to appreciate even more the individual that I was, and the individual that I am, and the individual that I become, and the individual that I create, and likewise the individual that everyone is. So when I started to look at things like that, I started thinking things like, well, is blue blue when it's just a dot of blue? And are we lonely? And I thought even that word, loneliness and oneness, it's only a few little letters, and the only letters that are in oneness, that are in loneliness, that are not in oneness, are ILL. And it almost seemed to me like when I think of, it's like ill. When I think of a loneliness, it's like a oneness in illness, or a oneness that contains illness. So I started to feel this connectivity and the accumulated connection and collection of the many things that humanity is in the oneness that I'm sensing within this statement, that it feels like oneness. And in trying to relate that back to this art of appreciation, I really started to look at my appreciations a little differently, because I was looking for what in them really signified, enough so that my inner being gave this to me as a component, that it feels like oneness. It also gave me some subcomponents about that, so I'd like to read them now. And it's really kind of amazing because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. And the first one is the shortest in the statements, and the last one is the longest. So as I typed them up, they came out like in a little pyramid look. The first one is that it vibrates on forever. So I tried to think about that both in relationship to this, it feels like oneness, and what it feels like to appreciate and to create an art around appreciation. And what I felt was that oneness goes on forever too. And appreciation is a vibration. And it's a vibration that really does strengthen this whole idea of oneness. I'd like to read something from my book that supports this. And it's from chapter 3. And first I'd like to read the quote that is above the chapter, and then the first paragraph in that chapter. And I think that it will help us continue on our direction of understanding this. The art of appreciation is simple. Just find something to appreciate. Start right there, and then appreciate something else after that, and then another something, and on and on. That's it. Create one appreciation after another, and when you appreciate enough, you will enter a space of being connected to who you really are, and the knowing that you are worthy of appreciation. I really know that appreciating is a personal tool that, if used, enables the building of an invisible, creative, enriched, dynamic, circular, or wave-like undulated momentum, which is, at very least, an emotional, spiritual, and physical experience that connects and carries its reinvigorated energies and vibrations into several directions simultaneously, forever, and for goodness. Appreciations are positive, multi-dimensional movements that ride on the words they become from the thoughts tempered within the heart. Appreciating is a unique tool, yet equally provided, as is love, although currently it is far from being as widely recognized as love is. I am thoughtfully and deliberately intending that more people will utilize this tool or gift of appreciation, as I also learn to develop more applications and skills for appreciating. So that's from my book, and I'd like to continue in that understanding. It vibrates forever. This concept of continuity realizes that every thought continues, every idea remains on in the life and lives that it touches. Each appreciation made, which is a thought and a heartfelt conception, it is in a positive realm, and it goes on forever. So, what I feel about this is just like the grains of sand, the stars, or the drop of water, the individual in humanity, and the idea and thought that comes from our heart and creates into a positive statement. All these things are individual, and yet they are a collection. And there is a collection of appreciations from you and from me. It belongs to everyone. Just like there is a collection of love. And it seems like we're much more aware of this thought of love. Love is all around us. Love is everything. And yet, likewise, in an equality is appreciation. And we create these appreciations. We initiate them. And they, each one of them, makes a creative collection in the substance that evolves in the waves that are out in the universe, in the frequencies, in the things that we know are able to get the attention of other things like them, in the way in which the art of appreciation works. It works in relationship to the law of attraction. I am brought to be clearly aware that an individual sees a mass before awareness blends the mass into a oneness. And I am told that another subcomponent of this is that it belongs to everyone. So we each respectfully hold all of the ingredients needed to participate in deliberately creating. And we can do so through this art of appreciation in a way that brings deliberate more into focus to behave with. It also says that it reflects more than self. That is so true, because oneness tends to claim this individuality in it, and yet when we appreciate, we reflect more than ourselves. We reflect lights onto others and for others. It appeals to and enriches all. It is hard to find something to say about appreciating or about the art of appreciation that would be negative. Some people might say it takes time. And yet those are the same people that lack the awareness of abundance of time. So I believe it's true that it appeals to and it enriches all, especially those that take it seriously. It improves everything in life. Well, hallelujah to that. I can testify that everything in my life has been improved since I really started doing appreciations systematically and regularly. And the more I do them, the more they come from my heart and the more pure they become. Because the more you appreciate, the more in life to appreciate comes to you. So it's a very easy circle, and it's a very easy graduation. It's an increase that occurs so naturally. It connects everyone together. Well, that's nice, because now we can see sand, and now we can see humanity. It is always pure positive energy, and indeed it is an energy to revel in, to embrace, and to enjoy. It's wonderful to have energy, and it's wonderful to have energy come out of something that we do that is so easy and from our heart as to appreciate. It is always a pure positive energy. And the last one is that it is available to all, hence all relate. Indeed, this is something that comes to us. It's free, and I know that people are always looking for something to do for free, which is not what this is all about, because there is an abundance of so much to be found when one releases themselves to the desire for things to be free from money, I mean, and to allow themselves that freedom that one gets from looking at a bird or hearing a bird sing, or just appreciating the color green, the color blue, or anything that we're feeling at this moment. So it is something that is available to all, and hence we all can relate to it. It would be so much fun to have more conversations about appreciation and more intellectuals gather around to discuss this undulation that we create in appreciating. And it is something we all can relate to, and it is something whose time has arrived to relate to. Well, believe it or not, I can see that this show is already coming to a close. And I just really want to take the time to appreciate that I did this, that I've completed something that was important for me to complete. And I followed the instructions that my inner being put in front of me to follow. I have found that when you take the time to open your heart to your inner being and to listen to what is being said and to accept this guidance and direction, one will be in a place where life changes forever. And one of the most humorous things about it all is that when you know this information, and if you decide that you can just keep this information to yourself, even if your inner being is telling you to share it with others, and you say, well, this is kind of hard for me to do. It's kind of hard for me to step out here and share this information and to open myself not only to my inner being, but also to whoever wants to listen to this through all times, that it's available. So it's a little different for me to take that step of faith, that leap of faith, that walking through that door and sharing with you that if I avoid listening to what my inner being says, it'll just come back to me again, and it'll just say it louder. And when I hear from within, it is such a pleasant hearing. And this direction, without being taken, gets to be a louder direction from outside of you, because it seems that this inner voice knows, and it knows this part of you that is connected to the choices that you can make to make your life better. So I've learned to listen and to allow, and to do so, I've created these 10 sessions for your benefit, and definitely it has benefited me. So I'm closing up this, and I'm really appreciating you for listening. I welcome your feedback. I think it will be fun to have someone comment about these things when they listen to them. And what I'm going to do is, after I wrap them all up, I'm creating a workshop from them, because that's the message that I'm hearing I should do. So I'm following through. I do have some more really interesting sessions aligned for the future, and I think I'm going to take a short break, maybe a week. We have some house guests with us, and so we've been enjoying part of the summer by entertaining and being with our relatives. So I think I might take a short time off, although I found someone today who is a wonderful singer, and I'm thinking of bringing her in and asking her if she would sing some songs for the next Art of Appreciation show. And in addition, I'm really looking forward to continuing with a new series. It'll be a shorter series, but it's more of a process. And I think you'll find it very enlightening, where we will eventually learn how to take our appreciations, to prioritize them in an art form, and then to convert them to affirmations. But that's a short version of what I would like to share with you. I thank you for being here. I totally appreciate that I've had this opportunity on Blog Talk Radio, and I appreciate that life is so interesting, and that I never know what's going to happen around the next corner, but I always know that it's going to be better than I even dreamt it could be. So appreciate that every day, and more of that will come to you as more of it comes to me. I appreciate life. I appreciate everything, and I appreciate every thought. Happy appreciating, and bye.